Salvi, start the show. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We hope it is good. Welcome to another edition of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, I am Ray Carsillo in beautiful Los Angeles, California. Joined by my best friend in the entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Elias. Lee, how are you doing today?
Foggy, late folly, Philadelphia, home of the first place Philadelphia Eagles and the fledgling Flyers and the Sixers, who have won a few games.
Yes, but they're still very much far and very much bad.
Things are good right now.
It's not too late for them to turn things around, but they have an uphill battle, to say the least. Uphill climb.
Yeah. Outside of that, real juicy sports topics this week and some geek topics this week we have to talk about. We try and stay away from too much mainstream, but we have to talk about these this week. We
got a lot to talk about. It is going to be a heavy sports week, folks, because there is so much to talk about across the four major
It's in the title. It's in the title.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. Sometimes it's a geek-heavy week. I mean, we do have some geek stuff. We got a couple of video game things to talk about. The Game Awards is coming up this week, which I will not be watching live because I will be doing stand-up in Pasadena at the Heist House on December 12th. And we also got some casting news and some other things going on, of course. But we're going to kick things
You'll want to hear about them. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. We're going to kick things off with the NFL. Because, of course, another big week in the league, big week in football.
Was it, though? Was it a big week? Or the usual suspects doing what they normally do?
Well, I think the playoff picture is starting to get much more clear. We did have a couple of upsets. I was shocked that the Rams in a shootout knocked off the Bills 44-42 in the highest scoring game of the year. The Bills defense just had no answer for Matthew Stafford. But the Bills' offense continues to look phenomenal. If the Bills' defense can wake up, I still think they are the team to beat in the AFC. And the Chiefs, Lee, continue to find ways to win. They're playing to the level of their competition every week, and it feels like I'm not gonna lie. This is the worst 12-1 football team I've ever seen. Lee, what are your thoughts on the Bills and Chiefs as they race for the 1 seed in the AFC?
Very simple thoughts. The Bills better hope that the Rams didn't just expose their defense, and they better hope that is fixed quickly. Because if they don't fix it quickly, they are in deep trouble. Because that was an exposed defense, my friend. Yeah. Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to be a playoff situation for them. They are very beatable. Now, with that said, I've also seen teams like this get to the playoffs with that much experience in the playoffs and run through the playoffs because they know what they need to do.
Right, they can turn it on.
Yeah, if there's ever been a Chiefs team that looks not invincible, looks very vincible. Is that a word?
This one. Yeah.
It's this Chiefs team. But again, buyer beware, because again, they know how to win the Super Bowl, and they could do it again. So we'll see what happens. But Ray, I was going to say, because I don't want to spend too much time on the NFL this week. It's a top-heavy league this year or a bottom-heavy league this year, depending on how you want to look at it.
Yes.
The playoff picture is really, really right there. And the teams that are trying to get in the wild card, I'll come back in a few months and say if I was wrong here. No one's worried about them. It's the top 4 teams are the top 4 teams. You may see how about this for a prediction? You may see one upset from the top 4. That's how good the top 4 are playing. Yeah. All right. But right now, Kansas City, the Bills, the Eagles, and the Lions, if that's not your final 4, an injury has happened. Right?
Sure. Yeah. Or like you said,
I just don't see anybody else challenging for that at the moment.
Right. Maybe a Pittsburgh, maybe a Minnesota, but like it is clear. We've been saying it for weeks now. Detroit and Philly, Kansas City and Buffalo, and then you have your Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and then your Minnesota, Green Bay, and then after that, after that, whoever else makes the playoffs is completely irrelevant.
You have to get red hot to beat any of these teams. And like I said, you might see some upsets in that bottom pack there if some of those teams advance to play each other, especially the first weekend.
Right.
But those are the final 4. I mean, I haven't seen it this strong in a long time. Now, funny enough, and I know we're going to talk about it, you look at college football, the college football looks like what the NFL should look like right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we're going to get into it in a little bit. College football is phenomenal. But before we do, want to just quickly mention, of course, how terrible the New York football teams are. The Jets officially eliminated from playoff contention again, 14 straight years now. The Giants, of course, also eliminated from playoff contention and looking to zero in on the number 1 or at least number 2 overall pick. Them and the Raiders have the 2 worst records in the league. But Lee, you mentioned your first place Eagles. I do briefly want to mention just a touch of controversy that happened over the last couple of days. A.J. Brown not very happy with Jalen Hurts not getting him the ball more. But your Eagles have won 9 in a row, so why complaining?
He's not, dude. People are looking for something to talk about, right? The fact Terrell Owens had to comment on this tells you what kind of stupid crap this is.
Terrell Owens and Donovan McNabb reignited a Twitter war between the two of themselves.
Which is just ridiculous. Like, it's just like, guys, go away. I don't know what to say to you at this point. Even I'm an Eagles fan. Like, I don't want to revisit that. I don't want to revisit losing the Super Bowl with you two guys. All we've taken away from Terrell Owens and Donovan McNabb is that they allowed their culture to be destroyed that day, and we're ignoring that the Patriots cheated to win that Super Bowl. I don't want to revisit it. It was a great day with you and all the other Ray. But no, I'm not worried about this. I don't think Jalen Hurts is worried about this. This is media fodder because they need something to talk about because they can't complain about Nick Sirianni anymore.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. WIP needs something to talk about.
They always do. Look, Philly loves to create a villain, and they can do that all they want. I mean, if they want to get in the way, the team's not listening to that crap. When you've won this many games in a row, first of all, even if he said that, which I'm sure he did, it's not, they'll figure that out internally. It's not for us as the fans to discuss this. We know nothing. I just stuff like this just is like, come on, God, I don't even want to talk about it. It's not a problem.
All right, wanted to just bring it up because it kind of came out of nowhere too in the national media. And I'm just
why I'm like, come on, give me a break. Like,
I guess you guys don't want to talk about baseball. Okay, we'll get into that later.
You know what? Like, you had Saquon breaking records. Like, this just got to find the negative thing in all of that. There's no negative news for me with the Eagles right now. Like, the collapse was last year. Let's move on.
Right. Again, you guys are right on the heels of the Lions for the number 1 seed. And so is Minnesota, to be fair. Minnesota, the Vikings keep on winning as well. But I still think that you and Detroit are a step above Minnesota.
Yeah.
I don't trust Sam Darnold in the playoffs.
I mean, look, there's a good chance if these 4 make it, the conference championship games might be better than the Super Bowl this year. Like, that's how good these teams are playing.
No, that's actually very true. But Buffalo and Kansas City and Detroit, Philadelphia might be better than a Detroit, Buffalo, or Kansas City, Philly, or
and
whatever.
The problem, the problems you have, Ray, is that if it's not those 4, someone has let down, and you might have a Cinderella story that you root for. But it's like, this is one of those years. This is the problem with the situation. It's like, because it's top heavy right now. Now we're in this kind of hurry up and wait scenario until the playoffs, right? Yeah. Which is not good. It's not good. You want most games to be meaningful this time of year, and like to be fair. Even for those top 4, the games now are not meaningful anymore because they're already in, right? So what ends up happening is, like, it's a letdown if they don't make the final 4. And this is a year when you have a top heavy league, you want to see the best 4 teams play each other.
Yes.
Right. And again, it's not that I hate Cinderella stories, but there's a disappointment with any of the 4, not just the Eagles. If any of the 4 aren't there, it's like, well, now we'll never know because they weren't there.
Right.
Right. Unless that Cinderella team wins the Super Bowl, which then changes the whole thing. But that's also insanely rare.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Very few teams are the New York Giants. I mean, it's true.
I'll give you that. No, it's super true. That's true.
The last 3 times the Giants have won the Super Bowl, they were basically a Cinderella team.
Yeah, I can't deny that. I think the only other teams that I can remember in my life is like when Green Bay won the first time in our lifetime. Right. And
Favre and the Patriots.
Yeah, that was kind of out of nowhere. And then the Patriots themselves was another one, but they weren't really a Cinderella story. That was more of a, well, maybe it was a bit.
Well,
that was a bit of a Cinderella.
Brady's first Super Bowl was a Cinderella story.
Yeah.
The Rams were the greatest show on turf was very heavily favored in Super Bowl 36.
Right. And it's interesting. It's just interesting. And like I said, Warner came in, that was a cool story.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah. I mean, but again, it's been it's more, but again, we're going back 20 years.
Yeah, this is like our youth.
Stories. Right.
Yeah, they're rare, is my point. They're very rare.
Absolutely. But you know where we're more likely to get a Cinderella story?
college football.
In college football.
First time you and I have ever been more excited, I think, for college football than the NFL. And it's not that we don't love the NFL.
Right.
So.
No, it's just that, and you mentioned it, the NFL this year is very much a much top-heavier league than normal. There's less parity than normal. And college football, it feels like there's an upset. It's almost like college basketball, where it feels like there's an upset now every week, and the rankings are constantly changing. But the rankings now are locked in. We have our final 12, and Lee, I actually agree with this final 12.
Me
I know
too.
a lot of folks were shocked that Alabama is not in the final 12, but they had 3 bad losses this year, and they are on the outside looking in. The Clemson Tigers sneak in as a 12 seed. They will take on number 5, Texas, in the first round, who also had a couple of rough losses, and that cost them a chance at a top 4 spot. But Lee, let's start with that. What are your thoughts on Bama? To me, Bama was not snubbed. I felt this was the right move, but what are your thoughts on Clemson over Bama?
Well, look, I do agree it's the right move, but this is one of those, and all was right on Christmas night after last season's putting Alabama in when they probably should not have been in. Now, I'm going to call it as I see it. They got in because it was Nick Saban's last year. They were not going to let Saban go out without an opportunity to make the national championship game, right? That's what I think happened last year. This year, I think it's like, no, you guys aren't good enough. You shouldn't be in there. You're at the bottom anyway. And this is how the playoff is going to go. Alabama fans have nothing to complain about after the last 30 years. All right. And I think we've got a really great lineup, and you may see some Cinderellas. Obviously the first 4 teams have a bye, so no one's going to get upset there.
Right. Yeah. Which is Oregon, Georgia, Boise State, and Arizona State.
Yeah. So. But from 5 down, you might see some of this stuff on any given Sundays. Now, it should not happen, but that's what makes it a Cinderella story.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I'm looking at this bracket, and like, to me, Oregon and Georgia, to me, are the favorites still. And then they are the 1 and 2 seed. They are the favorites to go all the way to the championship. Oregon looks like a powerhouse, but this isn't to say that they haven't had stumbling along the way. And I look at Penn State. I look at a team like Penn State, and if they can get by Georgia, I think they could beat Oregon, right? Because here's the thing. So Penn State plays SMU in the first round. Penn State is hosting. To me, as great a story as Sam Madison University, the Mustangs is, I think Penn State currently a 9-point favorite, which honestly means nothing. But I do think that Penn State should be the heavy favorites in this. I think Penn State wins. I like Boise State. But again, I think Penn State just matches up with them very well. If they can stop Boise State's running game with that defense, that can absolutely
they can stop Genty. That's the key to beating that team.
Exactly. Boise State is kind of one-dimensional, and I think that Penn State can do that. And Georgia, Indiana versus Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame, again, they should destroy Indiana. They're a great story. That program's come a long way, but I don't think they can't compete with a team like Notre Dame. But then Notre Dame, Georgia, that could be a shootout. Yeah. Is Beck going to be healthy for that game, for the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day? If he is, Georgia wins. If he isn't, then Notre Dame maybe sneaks in, and then we could have an Orange Bowl in the semifinals with Penn State and Notre Dame. And holy cow, would that be phenomenal?
That would be amazing.
Lee, on the bottom half of the bracket, let's start. Do I sound out of my depth here with Penn State and Notre Dame both advancing in their first round games?
No, not at all. That would be a shocking Cinderella story if they lose their games. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, the upper end of these playoffs should not be upsets. It's really more the middle of the pack that you're going to start seeing these.
Right. And then, of course, the top half of the bracket, again, Oregon's the bye, or Arizona State's the bye. Lee, I'm not going to lie. I think you could see upsets here.
Big time.
I think Ohio State should beat Tennessee, but I wouldn't be surprised if they pull off an upset, but I'm picking Ohio State.
Sure.
And again, Texas versus Clemson. If Quinn Ewers is healthy for Texas should beat Clemson handily. But if Quinn Ewers, who has had injury problems all year, struggles because of those injuries, I think you could see Clemson actually pull off the upset. Yeah. I actually think that of all these games, Clemson has the best chance to pull off an upset and actually advance to Arizona State. And then who knows? I think they could beat Arizona State. I don't think they get farther than that, but
Yeah, well, they're hot right now, Ray. Right? They're hot. They're in.
They're red hot.
They're
They are
feeling
riding
it.
that momentum, my friend.
Yeah,
And again,
I agree with you.
if Texas is banged up, if Quinn Ewers at quarterback can't play, that is ripe for the picking. So I understand why the higher seeded teams are the higher seeded teams. But if I was going to pick one upset for the opening weekend, the first round of the college football playoff bracket for 24-25, watch out for the Clemson Tigers against the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, look, I'll say this in my years of watching college football. The thing that tends to happen is in a game like that, Clemson will get a big lead in the first half, and then experience will take over, and Texas will just come running back, roaring back. And that's what you got to coach to, is that you got to play this full game. And then they know that, Lee. Do they? You know how many times I've seen this happen? You know, if you watch college football, you've seen it happen 100 times. It's a close game, then the third quarter happens, and the fourth quarter happens, right?
Yeah.
So I do agree with you, Ray, that there's a high potential there based on injuries. But we will see. Like, what I love about this playoff, it's kind of the same thing I love about the NFL playoffs, is you just don't know, right? No. You just don't know. And really, and the other thing, too, I want to say is the way this season has gone with upsets. I mean, I have never been so unsure of picking teams in my life. I can't tell you who's going to win. I can tell you who should win. We can all tell you who should win, right? Whether or not they do win, I've never been this insecure. And again, of the top four, you know, I think you're right in terms of there's, you know, Oregon is obviously strong, right? There's a couple teams up there. It's like, we'll see. We'll see. Right. They got to put their money where their mouth is, or the metal, the rubber's got to meet the road for those teams. But we will see what happens. I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to the games, and there's enough games on you can move around and jump around, and things are going to work out there and be fine.
Yeah, I mean, this is. I mean, you've got Notre Dame, Indiana, a primetime game on Saturday, that's Friday the 20th. Excuse me, Friday the 20th, and then of course you got 3 Saturday games on the 21st, which will be Clemson, Texas, Tennessee, Ohio State, and SMU, Penn State. Big noon. Things kicking off at noon Eastern. SMU, Penn State on Saturday. That Saturday, so that should be a lot of fun. Again, it's the most excited I've ever been in my life. I don't know why my camera cut out there. It's coming back. But I'm still here. You can still hear me. Been having camera issues all day, but
it's okay. I'm still here, Ray.
There we go. At least for now. I don't know what's the matter with the webcam, but it's the most excited I've ever been in my life.
I never remember a college season like this one. At least not in my lifetime. So I'm excited to see where we go from here. Make sure you're watching. Look at the schedule. Look at the bracket. I think this is poised to be the best college postseason of all time. I know that's kind of easy to say with the 12-team playoff, but even when it was 4 teams or just the 2 teams, I don't ever remember. Maybe when Auburn played Alabama or things like that. It's just I don't remember it being like this in a long time.
Yeah, no, it's phenomenal. You know what's not phenomenal? The New York Rangers.
Could go a lot of different. Oh, the Rangers, yes, having issue. Well, they might be about to be phenomenal. We'll find out.
We'll find out. The Rangers 2-8 in their last 10, really struggling. They lost 2-1 last night to Chicago. Rangers just after losing 7-5 to Seattle, so the Rangers just all over the place. The Rangers, though, traded their captain. It's the 3rd time in a row the Rangers have traded their captain. They trade Jacob Trouba to the Ducks for a 4th-round pick and basically a 7th defenseman. I don't even remember the guy's name, Vontanen, whatever. There's too many vowels and I can't say it. Yeah, exactly. But the big thing here was this was a salary dump. But the big thing is, was this the right move? 100%. Jacob Trouba has lost a step. He's not worth his contract. But the problem is that the reason why this came about was that Chris Drury publicly said that he was looking to trade Trouba as well as other players, and then basically threatened Trouba, if reports are true, with the nuclear option of waiving him. And Lee, take us into the locker room from your experiences. Like, when you hear this from a GM, when you hear this from like again, this was public knowledge. What are your thoughts as a player? What are your thoughts? Like, and Trouba said, he's like, well, I didn't want to play after I heard this, which honestly to me is the wrong response. But it just,
No,
I feel like,
I don't know if I agree with you on that, Ray. I mean, look, these are human beings. All
sure.
right. And everyone listening, go to your job where a boss really doesn't believe in you once you're gone. You're not going to work hard. I don't care how great your integrity is. You're going to do what you got to do to get by. You're not going to do the best job you can, especially if you know you're not wanted. And then if you're doing that and you're the captain, you're the leader, how are your teammates going to respond? How are the other employees? Well, if they don't want him here, if they're going to treat him that way, they'll treat me that way. So we talk about infectious behaviors, viral behaviors. We said last week, there's a culture problem with the New York Rangers. Yeah. And now you know why. Now, he might have said this to the press. If you think Trouba doesn't talk to his teammates about this, you're crazy.
Right.
All right. But equate this one to any workplace. Your boss doesn't want you. They're threatening to fire you. They're threatening to do you dirty. You tell your teammates, what do you think that's going to do to your compete level?
Yeah.
All right. Again, we talk about quiet quitting all the time. Yeah, there was a culture problem in New York. We're going to talk about a lot of culture problems in New York on this episode throughout multiple sports. But right now we're talking hockey. Yes, this is the first step to fixing that problem. The real issue is the lurkingness of this. They didn't care about this guy. Now, there's also the chance of maybe they don't like Trouba in the locker room. I don't know. All right. For me, it's tough not to like a guy who's willing to sacrifice his body for the team. But the other part of this is that Igor Shesterkin, the goaltender, did sign like almost immediately after that.
Immediately after this was done, he signed.
So that was pretty immediate. Yeah, it was a little interesting how quickly that happened.
Yeah.
So the point is this: no matter what's going on in the locker room, good, bad, and different, this is a opportunity to step forward, move forward. It's done. The guy's out of the locker room. I'm going to say it again too. Even a martyr in his sense. Let's say his teammates were very empathetic to him. Well, he's gone now. That story's done. You can't hold on to it. You got some new blood in there now. You got to do something. But no, like, look, I'm all for integrity. The integrity that he showed was playing and showing up every day. But I'm not going to give a guy any problems for not killing himself for a team that's not showing any real loyalty to him. And remember, right, this is a guy that chose his family first, right? They wanted to move him. His wife had a life in New York, and he didn't want to move. That's why he never moved. There's no trade clause. All right, so it's like, people got on him about that. And I think that says a lot more about New York than it does about the player, right? This guy's putting his family first. Give me a break, guys. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And it's not like he's trash.
No.
All right. So it's just, they got some culture issues there. Time to take a step forward. You have plenty of time to do it.
Yep.
Right? That's what I think.
Yeah, the Rangers still hold a wild card position as of this moment after their hot start. So even going 2-8 in their last 10, they're far from done. They're still, I think, 14-11 and 3 or something like that. And
you have plenty of time. You're just not going to coast into the playoffs this year. You're going to have to earn it. Right. That's how that works. And that might be good for him. Might be good to be an underdog for a change.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Might be exactly what you need, actually.
And Trouba now will join former Flyer Gudis on the blue line in Anaheim. That's going to be a hard-hitting line. Anaheim continuing to rebuild, but now you have a veteran defenseman who can another veteran defenseman, a pair of veteran defensemen in Anaheim who can teach their 4 younger defensemen and kind of help develop them as well as the coaches there. And the Ducks are still, I think, a couple of years away, but they're making some interesting moves there. Verbeek is Pat Verbeek, the general manager there, doing some interesting things down in Anaheim.
Yeah,
although nobody would notice because nobody cares here in Los Angeles. Sorry. Although I hear the Honda Center is many nights. Never been to the Honda Center. I've driven by it many times, but I've actually never been inside because I don't want to. I don't want to go see the Ducks. But yeah, so the Rangers there, interesting, and I don't know. The big thing is they've cleared up $6.5 million.
They position themselves well. But listen, the takeaway for everybody listening, this is how a culture problem can destroy a team, a very, very good team.
Yeah.
Right. And it just shows you it's so much more than just the play and the tactics that go into making a team successful.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So Moving on now to a team that has been more successful, and we kind of said this, that it's going to take a little bit of time for new players to click, but now it seems that they are. The Knicks have won 5 of 6. They are moved on to the semifinals of the midseason tournament. They are now 15-9, and the Knicks are rolling in the Eastern Conference. And boy, oh boy, Karl Anthony Towns is starting to really embrace New York and the culture here, and he has an edge, and everybody's like, yes, this is what we traded for. Let's go. And even the 76ers, Lee, your Sixers, 5-5 in their last 10 to improve. They started 2-10. They're now 7
showing signs of life. Let's just say,
yes, they've won a couple in a row. Again, they still have a big hole to climb out of, but in the East, and especially now with the expanded bracket play-in tournament for the playoffs. Again, it's a long way away. You're only a game and a half back of the Bulls for the 10 seed. If the Sixers get hot, it's very easy to think that they could somehow maybe get into one of those play-in round games. But Lee, what are your thoughts on the Sixers starting to show some life? And how about my Knicks?
I have no thoughts on the Sixers just yet. If they go on a big run, as they should, I'll talk about them. The disaster start to the season. You'll be chasing a spot now. And yeah, like the Knicks, good job. Way to go, right? A lot of basketball left. I mean, we got to see what happens here. Right now the top teams are still the top teams, right? So yeah. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, Cleveland, their record-winning streak finally came to an end. They're now 21-4, but at the top of the league overall. And the Lakers have come back down to earth. Just want to quickly mention it. People were wondering how LeBron would do with JJ Redick, and if they seem to be on the same page. It just seems to be that the rest of the team is not on the same page as JJ.
Well,
Redick.
It's interesting. They made Bronny come back to the lineup, which was a really interesting call. That apparently they say it is Redick and LeBron agreed that they play better when Bronny is around. I mean, there's no way it's that simple. But interesting. It's an interesting situation here going on. That nepotism at its finest, literally.
Literally, yes. Oh my goodness! But the Lakers are 13-11. They're not bad, but with the Western Conference is a lot better overall than the East. So 13-11, 10-15 right now would get you the 10 seed in the East. 13-11, which of the Lakers is also the 10 seed in the West.
Long way to go. Way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. We're only a little over about a third of the way through the season so far. So for both NHL and NBA. And we're not even in baseball season anymore. We're getting tons of news there. This is going to probably lead to a rant. This is going to probably.
But why don't we just stay on the only baseball story that matters? Juan
Soto is now a New York Met. Juan Soto signs a record $765 million contract that can go up to $805 million. There is an opt-out clause after year 5. If the Mets choose to void that opt-out, it would cost them an extra $40 million, another $4 million a year over the last 10 years of that contract. He also got a $75 million signing bonus and his own private family suite at Citi Field. The Mets outbid the Yankees by $5 million in 1 year. The Mets offered 15 years, $765. The Yankees offered 16, $760, which is about a difference of, well, again, not much money-wise, but it would have been $4 million more a year for the Mets. The Yankees offered him a $60 million signing bonus and said no player gets their own private suite at Yankee Stadium. And supposedly, because the New York media is looking for reasons to try to be like, it was all about the family suite. It was all about his family. Because they're trying to make the Yankees look like villains. When at the end of
just
the day,
so you know, when you make that much money, you can buy your own tickets too.
Yes, that's the thing. Aaron Judge, Derek Jeter, every Yankee superstar that makes hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars over the years could afford a couple $1,000s for his family to come to the ball game, to come to the ballpark. So I don't want to hear that was it. It's just desperate New York media trying to find reasons that beyond the fact that it all just came down to Soto did not probably want to play second fiddle to Judge, and he went for a little bit more money. He wanted the bigger number.
Right.
He did not want to be a Yankee.
Let's talk. There's multiple levels to this. And I'm sorry, listeners. The first thing I got to start on is just a morality clause here. I am starting to have an issue. People are going to groan and roll their eyes. I cannot believe we're paying someone $800 million to play baseball.
Ridiculous.
When we have teachers and we have doctors and we have people out there really making an impact, and we can't pay them a living wage. And while I will admit that Juan Soto is one of very few people in the universe that can do what he does, I'm not denying that. Yeah. As a society, we have decided that this is worth $800 million. It also means, Ray, we're a few years away from $1 billion contract.
Yeah.
All right. It's just, the hypocrisy of we're okay with that, but we're not okay with paying teachers more money. It's just like blows my mind. And I'm a sports person saying this. I have to get that out of the way first. Thank you for letting me say it. I'm sorry. I really do have an issue with that. All right. Because it's an absorbent amount of money. If we're going to complain about billionaires and then hand a guy, but really make him a billionaire in baseball, the hypocrisy blows my mind. All right. With that said, that has nothing to do with Juan Soto himself. Good for him for making as much money as he can. I'm not mad at the guy. Yeah. I'm more mad at the situation. So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
The second thing too is let's talk about the real reasons behind this. You said the New York media is looking for things. I had a great conversation with my brother last night. You just said it as well. Juan Soto can't be the guy with the Yankees. It's always going to be Soto and Judge or something else.
Right.
All right. At the Mets, he's the guy. No matter what happens now, he's the guy. He gets that.
Even with Lindor, he is the guy.
He's the guy. It's definitely not Soto and Lindor, not with that contract. Right. It's Soto's team now.
Right.
And now we'll get to the ramifications of that in a minute. That's why he chose the Mets, because he's the guy. All right. Yeah. And I doubt it's a few million extra dollars. It's the offer that they made to him puts him in a stratosphere by himself.
Absolutely.
Which honestly, outside of baseball, is probably worth a lot of money. All right. I think the other thing that this signifies, and I think this is important, and Yankee fans, you're not going to like this. But this signifies that the draw to be a Yankee is not what it once was. And that the Yankees need to look at their organization right now. And this is what kills me. And I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah. And I am going to be that guy. If George Steinbrenner was alive, man, would this have been handled totally differently.
Absolutely.
All right. Absolutely. And the other thing too is, let's just say he's alive and this happens. It's unacceptable for someone not to choose the Yankees over another team. And that's what Steinbrenner always understood. And I don't think this ownership understands it. Now, listen, from a pure GM only point of view, I know you're going to agree. We discussed this. This helps the Yankees. It's a good move for the Yankees. But in terms of the brand, not good. Not a good look that someone chose the Mets over the Yankees. All right. That's never a good look. Now, why don't we dive into that for a few minutes? And then we just got to talk about what the hell the Mets have just done, because you want to talk about rolling the dice. Oh my God. Well, it was different. Just go on the Yankee thing. And we got to talk about what the Mets have done and why you're not the Dodgers.
Well, I mean, here's the thing is that, look, this has been happening now for about 15 years. Right. It started with Robinson Cano picking the Mariners over the Yankees, literally just picking the money. He took the money. And we all know how that turned out. Ended up being one of the worst contracts in baseball history. A dude who was on the path to be a Hall of Famer, ruining his career, completely derailed with injuries and steroids and scandal, and everything went off the rails. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen with Juan Soto. But what I'm saying is that this isn't the first time that somebody has chosen to who basically earned his pinstripes in a way, literally and figuratively, and then chose to go elsewhere and cashed in, right? I think that is just a byproduct more of modern baseball. I will also say it's not always
the key. There was cash in, this is not that so much to me. I mean, that sounds weird with the contract, but it's like that's like I was a Yankee, I'm worth something,
right?
I don't feel that. It's like the Yankees aren't good enough for my game is kind of what this one feels like.
Sure. But I mean, I think you look at also Garrett Cole took less money to stay a Yankee.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge took less money to stay a Yankee. Mind you, they're still getting $350 and $400 million respectively.
Right.
But I think that there is also something to say that it's not completely gone. I really do think it comes down to an individual. And I think that it's different for Cole, who grew up a Yankee fan. It's different for Judge, who was named who they were also like, we're not only, if you do this, we'll name you captain. Right? Like there were other things involved. And I think, again, it comes down to the individual. And again, we've already said it. I think Juan Soto, yes, a lot of it has to do with the number. I think a lot of it also has to do with he wanted to be the guy.
The guy, yeah.
Right?
I think that's the reason. If we had to pin it down, I think that's the reason.
Yeah, he wanted to be. He is the face of Flushing now. Whether you agree with it or not, no, he is.
They need to get.
He's
Scott's
the king of
toilet
Queens.
Paper.
He's
they need
the
to
king
get
of
the
Queens.
Scott's toilet paper ad. The king of Flushing.
Yeah, like that's the thing, right? Like, and just like everything else in Flushing, it's going to go down the toilet. But I think that's really what it is. Are the Yankees still a desirable destination for a lot of folks? Absolutely. Juan Soto had his 1 year there. They showered him. They gave him all the love. They gave him everything. And yes, people are looking for, there may have been a security guard who ticked him off or something that messed up with his face. That's going to happen anywhere. Somebody's going to screw up everywhere, right? Yeah. Like there's no guarantee that you're going to get rose petals thrown at your feet everywhere, because there's going to be somebody who's just having a bad day or has something better to do and doesn't know that that's Juan Soto's personal chef.
Well, and going back to what we said, like this is where you have integrity as an athlete. They can't stop you as a professional athlete.
Exactly. And if that's what he chose over, why he chose the Mets over the Yankees, then good riddance. He wanted to be the guy.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't think have the Yankees lost a little bit of the mystique? Maybe. But you get a chance to play in the line. You get the chance to hit in front of the best hitter in baseball, arguably. At least top two. It's if not Judge, it's Shohei, and it's Judge, right? Those are your top two guys. You get a chance to hit in front of Aaron Judge protecting you in the lineup, a guy who, when healthy, averages 60 home runs a year and hits over 300. You have that kind of protection, and you go to choose to go to Queens to have Mark Vientos behind you in the lineup? No offense to Vientos. He's a nice player, but he's not Aaron Judge. No, I think there's way more ego here involved and obviously, yes, and obviously the number.
Well, and when your ego's worth almost $800 million, you can make that move. Let's dive into this from a Mets standpoint. Obviously, this contract surpasses Shohei Ohtani's contract with the LA Dodgers.
Yes, and
now it's going to get a lot of comparison. Shohei should be the top paid player in baseball.
Yeah.
Soto is an amazing baseball player.
Yep.
Not better than Shohei Ohtani to me. That's another part of this. The other thing too is that the Dodgers bought an injured Shohei Ohtani, who has had multiple MVPs. He's a pitcher and a hitter. He hits 1 million home runs and pitches games. He is worth every single cent. And in his first year with the Dodgers, they won a World Series. That, my friends, is getting what you're paying for. All right. Also, multiple MVPs. Ray, how many MVPs does Juan Soto have?
Does he have one? Does he have none? He has none. He has none.
He's been in the running.
Absolutely been in the running for sure.
0. Look that up. Double check me.
Yeah.
You just paid a guy $765 million who's never been an MVP. Now you're banking he will be. Okay.
Sure.
All right. Switching from the AL to the NL, he could be. All right.
Unlikely because he's got to deal with Shohei now.
I know. But it's like, that's one thing. Number 2, the Dodgers, pretty good team without Shohei. Okay?
Yeah.
You want to talk about missing piece?
Yeah.
Like, that's a missing piece for them there to win the World Series. And by the way, didn't have the best World Series. The New York Mets, if you guys think you're one piece away from the World Series, and by the way, next October, November, if you win the World Series, I will come on here.
We'll eat all the crow in the world.
We will eat all the crow in the world. Okay? You had a great Cinderella playoff. I'll give you that.
And that's what it was.
No doubt.
It was a Cinderella run.
I'm not wrong with this. Right? It's like beautiful Cinderella. I tip my hat to you. Cinderella run. You knocked off some of the best teams in baseball. I'm not just saying that as a Phillies fan. It was an amazing run. Okay? Like, even when you get to where you got, it's tough not to root for a team like that, although I never rooted for you once. All right? But if you think you're one piece away now, when you still have to sign Alonso, you're not giving this guy, Juan Soto, any protection in your lineup if you're not careful. And then, Ray, what if he gets hurt?
Yep.
If Shohei they bought Shohei hurt. Right? They still perform. All right. My point to you is, if Shohei Ohtani gets hurt, we saw what happens. They still won the World Series. They still win with this guy hurt. They still have
Freeman. They still have Betts. They still have Will Smith.
What if this guy gets hurt?
Yeah.
I mean, what, did you take insurance out on it? I mean, if he gets hurt, you are screwed. I mean, my God. Now, this is the thing. And I know this from a GM standpoint. It's a 15-year contract.
Yeah.
If you win 2 or 3 World Series over that time,
it's worth it.
It's worth it. Sure.
It's worth it.
And maybe they're going to build around him.
You know, most likely at the tail end of that contract, he's not going to be at 41 when he is at 26.
Right. And I'm going to say it again. Maybe that's the way the contract looks. Maybe it's, you know what, we're building for the future. That's why we bought the guy. I mean, when you spend that much money, you can say that. But man, if they bought him thinking they're one step away, I don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? So, and Cohen, coming out with jokes like, who was the other team bidding? I hate the Yankees. It's just, guys, first off, listen, it's such a Met move. All right. And again, Mets fans, you have every right to be excited. Like, I don't
be happy. Go ahead.
I'm not trying to take that from you. This is one of those rare situations.
The Mets have won so many World Series in December. Oh, wait a minute. That doesn't count. Oh, wait, I forgot.
I know. It's an interesting thing. So, and the other thing too is you got to look at the NL East, right? So now the Mets, major contender right away. I think that's how they look at it.
Sure.
But the problem is you have a healthy Atlanta.
Yep.
And I'm going to say this: you've just put the Phillies into the underdog position. Yep. They could very well be ranked third in the division now, like before the season starts.
Right.
That's the worst thing you could do to the Phillies.
Yeah.
Because they play way better in that environment.
Yeah.
So again, don't know what's going to happen. I'm sure there'll be a Cinderella time period, but wow. I mean, I'm not poo-pooing on the Mets. It's just like, what a gamble that was. Nobody looked at the Shohei contract like that's a gamble. It's like, that guy is worth the largest contract in baseball history.
Right.
Now, Juan Soto, again, I can't say it enough. Like, the guy's great. He's worth a few $100 million in current salary structures. Sure. I still don't agree with that much money being paid to a human being. Okay. But my God, like, what a Met move. And it's a little disturbing. The Yankees were even willing to spend that much money on him. Like, I would have been actually more comfortable if they were like, look, $500 million. All right. Yeah. And that's, but Yankees now letting everybody know we have $750
and that's
million.
The thing. And I want to we want to get into that. I want to get into that, but I also
you agree with my analysis of this, Ray? Because it is such a risk.
Well, and that's the thing.
At least in the interim.
So this was a fun stat put up by Fangraphs. F-WAR, which I'm not a big sabermetrician. I'm not into the big advanced stats. But if you believe in that stuff, F-WAR, which is the Fangraph wins above replacement, taking Soto away from the Yankees and adding him to the Mets means that the Yankees and Mets now, with their current roster, the way it sits at 1:07 p.m. Pacific time on December the 10th, they have the exact same F-WAR with Soto going to the Mets, right? Here's the thing. If the Mets don't re-sign out Pete Alonso, which is not a given, if the Mets don't find not one, but at least 2 more starting pitchers with Luis Severino, instead of staying in the Mets, going to Sacramento. Not even Oakland anymore. He's going to Sacramento instead of staying with the Mets. If they don't find some pitching, you're going to lose a lot of ball games 15-14. Because the Mets don't have, Lee, the Mets rotation right now, they're hoping Kodai Senga comes back after 2 injuries last year. They signed Frankie Montas, who was at best a 5th starter with the Reds. He was a bust with the Yankees, and he was met in Oakland. They've said they want to turn former Yankee closer Clay Holmes, after giving him a 3-year deal, into a starter. You're going to experiment on a reliever turning into a starter and him being a major part of your rotation? That's your plan? And then that's it? That's it. Jose Quintana's still a free agent. All the other starters are free agent. They don't got, I don't know, Drew Peterson? I don't know. They don't got any pitching, at least as the starting position. Then in the lineup, Brandon Nimmo is a nice player. Obviously, Lindor and then Soto. Vientos is turning into a nice player. They don't sign Alonso. They're talking about putting him at first base. Alvarez, nice player at catcher. McNeil had a real bad year last year after winning the batting title a couple of years ago. You don't know if he's going to bounce back. Marte is on the downturn of his career. Nobody's been impressed with Brett Beatty since he's been called up to the majors. Oh, and then you signed Jose Siri, who hit 200 last year. He's be your 9 hitter. He hit 200 for Tampa. And in the lineup, by the way, Soto's only a DH because he is your worst of the 4 outfielders of Nimmo, Siri, and Marte. He is the biggest defensive liability, so he is your DH in that lineup. So not only are you paying $800 million potentially, you're paying it for a guy who doesn't play for what people are saying is a 2-tool player. He can't run. He can't really throw that well, and he's not that great a fielder. He hits for average. He hits for power. He's a DH. Again, the Yankees were willing to go almost blow for blow with the Mets. But, Lee, I really think we dodged a bullet here.
Well, I think the Yankees needed some major changes to their lineup, and I think this is going to allow you to do it, assuming that your GM makes the right moves here in building the team that you need to be to win the World Series, right? Yeah. Again, the Mets now, for 15 years, if it doesn't work immediately, you'll have oh, no, we were building for the future. You'll always be able to say that, right? And when you do get the right lineup, oh, no, this is what we built it for, right? I mean, it's just tough when we just saw a team do this and win the World Series right away to believe that. Now, just one more time on the Yankees, Ray. If you do not pick the pieces you need right now, I mean, not only, well, it's just going to continue the narrative that I've said of the Yankees are not the Yankees anymore, right?
Yeah.
And this is your opportunity to make it right. I mean, again, it's a weird situation. Nobody can blame Juan Soto for taking what he got, right?
No.
But not even Yankee fans. But you got to move on. Like, this is an opportunity. No. It's just like the Trouba situation. It's an opportunity for the 100%. Team to make a decision here.
The Yankees have now basically declared that they are willing to up their payroll annually by $50 million.
Yeah.
That they are willing to spend $700 million.
It's amazing.
The Yankees need a first baseman, a third baseman, a closer, or at least a bullpen arm, probably another starter, and maybe an outfielder. Now, you can say, well, we want the outfielder. We're going to call up the kids. We got Spencer Jones. They're very high on Jason Dominguez. Fine. You still need a first baseman. You still need a third baseman. Alex Bregman is a free agent. Supposedly he wants, if Alex Bregman wants 7 years, $200 million, I'm giving it to him immediately.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's 30 years old. He'll play though he's 37. Let's do it. If Christian Walker, who's 33, wants 3 years, $75 million, arguably one of the better defensive first basemen, former Gold Glover in baseball. He's 33, wants 3 years, 75. Give it to him. 100%. Go play first base for the next 3 years. Right? Like Tanner Scott, closer for the Padres last year and for the Marlins. He wants 6 years, $60 million, $10 million. Absolutely. You're the closer for the Yankees. Like, that's it. Go take this money and go get the 3 or 4 or 5 other players. Maybe make a trade. People have been talking about the Yankees want to trade for Cody Bellinger and Garrett Crochet, one for the Cubs, one for the White Sox. Do it. Do it. And then I'm okay. I'm absolutely, if that's what the Yankees do, if the Yankees go and get 3, 4, 5 new players with that money and trade bait instead, I'm more mad at that point that we traded for Soto to begin with than the fact that we let him go to the Mets. Because we gave up not 1, but 2 starting aces for him. Michael King and then Drew Thorpe, who the Padres flipped to Chicago for Dylan Cease. So in theory, the Yankees gave up Michael King and Dylan Cease, who, boy, oh boy, would they have looked great in the playoff rotation last year instead of Carlos Rodon and Clark Schmidt. Okay? Although I think Schmidt will be good in the future. He's very young. But anyway, and Luis Gil's developing too. But I can't stand Carlos Rodon. But that's another whole other story. But go be the Yankees. Go get your 3, 4 other players and then I'm okay.
You know what?
I'm perfectly okay if
I'm
Soto
just gonna
wins.
sum this all up for you, Ray, in the most Yankee way possible for
Yeah.
the Yankees. Hubba hubba hubba, money, money, money. Who do you love? That's what you
Who
need
do
to
you
do right
trust?
now. Who do you trust? Who do you love?
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing. Is like you have to go now. I get it. They're like, well, this is plan B. Well, plan B might actually have been better than plan A because you have so many holes.
Well, plan
in
A
that
wasn't
lineup.
working. And again, what
The
worries
Yankees
me
also, by the way, overperformed last year in my
Yeah,
opinion.
that's what I was gonna say, Ray. It's like you look at it like, oh, we're a World Series caliber team. Like, well, no, you made the World Series. I can't deny you that, but it's like I don't know if that's the
It
path.
was with smoke and mirrors.
Yeah,
In a lot of ways,
and
the Yankees
and they were undressed in the final. In the
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Aaron Judge is a better right fielder than center fielder. He'll go back to right. Jason Dominguez will hopefully develop as a rookie and play center field every day, or at least. And if you don't call up Spencer Jones, if you do trade for a Cody Bellinger, who, by the way, as a lefty, his swing would sing at Yankee Stadium as well. You put him in center and you move Dominguez to left. Like, whatever, however you do it, I think putting Judge back in right is. Aaron Judge was a Gold Glove, even though they never won a Gold Glove caliber right fielder. He was a liability in center field, which we saw in the worst way possible in the World Series. But that you look statistically, you look at that over the course of the year, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Right? Like these are facts. Look at the numbers, look at the defensive metrics. Judge, great right fielder, not great center fielder. And because they are different positions, the ball comes off the bat differently. And for a dude who's played his whole career in right field, moving to center field because Aaron Boone's like, we need a guy. That's not going to work. I hate Aaron Boone. But anyway, go get a real center fielder in Bellinger, and we'll be fine. Or Dominguez, Jason Dominguez, another kid who's grown up as a center fielder. Move Jazz Chisholm back to his natural position at second base. Go get Alex Bregman. Go get Christian Walker. Or if you really want to stick it to Mets fans, just get Pete Alonso just for the heck of it, who's actually who's 3 years younger than Christian Walker. Not as good defensively, but
funny.
But it would be funny. Yeah. At that point, then you look at it as a trade. We traded our right fielder for a first baseman.
Yeah.
And we probably saved $500 million.
Yeah, I was going to say, you may save a lot less money. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Yankees have a lot to do here. There's a lot that still can happen. But as of right now, the Yankees have a lot of holes to fill. And so do the Mets still. Even with getting Soto, they still have a lot of holes to fill.
And the hot stove is on. And listen, now you're going to start seeing lots of movement happen across the league.
I think, yeah. I mean, there's already talks about Garrett Crochet and Max Fried.
Phase are going to make some moves too. Big time.
You've got Sasaki from Japan coming over. The Cardinals want to trade Nolan Arenado. There's so much going on. Former Yankee, actually on the verge, but it sounds like former Yankee Jonathan Loaizaga, a reliever who has been hurt most of the last 3 years, might go sign a deal with the Mets. Good riddance. Very nice player, but he's been hurt 80% of the last 3 years. At that point, I don't care how great your arm is. If you can't pitch, you can't pitch. So go ahead, take that. Go take that Uncle Steve money and to be hurt the whole time. But yeah, obviously that's the big deal. Obviously, as more moves happen, we'll talk about it. But
yeah, the hot stove's on. Big time hot stove.
The winter meetings are happening as we speak. We're expecting a lot more news to happen over the coming days. We'll see what the Mets do. We'll see what the Yankees do. We'll see what the Phillies do, the Dodgers. And that's the other thing we forgot to mention. Juan Soto, not only is it going to be harder for them to win an MVP, like once again, the National League is a harder league right now to win in.
Yes, easily.
The Padres are great. The Padres have 4 aces in their rotation when healthy. Musgrove, Darvish, Cease, and King. The Dodgers, obviously the defending world champions, the deepest lineup possibly in baseball. The Phillies. The Braves, when healthy. Oh, and by the way, have Chris Sale back in Cy Young form. And then the Mets.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm sorry. In the American League,
just in terms of competition, that wasn't a ranking, but just in terms of competition.
No, that's the thing. In the American League, the Yankees,
Baltimore,
Cleveland is there, maybe.
Yeah, Baltimore.
Texas, if healthy, but then too, they're getting all their pitchers getting older. I know they're only 2 years removed away from the World Series, but they've lost a lot of guys in free agency. A lot of guys are getting older. Baltimore, they've got a lot of good young talent, but they still haven't seemed to be able to figure it out for the postseason. Boston is getting better, but Toronto's in a rebuild. I think Kansas City overperformed last year. I still think all their pitchers had the best years of their careers. That's not going to happen again. Although Bobby Witt is a phenomenal player, incredibly dynamic player. Detroit is on the upswing, but I still think they're like at least 2, if not 3 hitters away. Toronto's in a rebuild. Tampa's in a rebuild. The American League right now is easier to win in than the National League. But good luck in the playoffs if you get there, Juan Soto. So we'll see what happens. So
they've got 15 years for that deal to pay off.
They've got 15 years. Oh, and by the way, I'm calling it now. 2026, there'll be no baseball season. I think the league's going to go on strike.
Well, yeah, and it's also got to be mentioned that the Mets are paying Juan Soto and Bobby Bonilla still.
Oh, and
2035, they still won't be.
And former Yankee Robinson Cano.
Yeah. Yes, that's a good point.
They took up for this year and next year, they are paying Robinson Cano, who is no longer in baseball, $20 million because they had to take on that contract from Seattle when they traded for Edwin Diaz, their closer, who can't close. OMG! OMG!
Yeah, now we are ripping on the Mets.
Yeah, now we are ragging on them. Absolutely. I mean, it's still low hanging fruit.
Anyway, Juan Soto, gotta say one more time. Hey, congratulations to you. Can't do that. Mets fans, enjoy. Be excited.
Yes. Also, I need to say to the Yankee fans who are like, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to go kill Mets fans.
I hope no one's saying that over a sport. I really do.
I guys get like, it's whatever. It's whatever. There was always a chance this was going to happen. And that's why, again, go back and watch all my videos on Twitch. Go back and watch all the Geeks Who Like Sports. I said it at the time. I did not like the Soto trade because I was like, there's a good chance, not a definite chance, but there's a chance this is a 1-year rental. And we gave up too much for it, in my opinion. 2 starters, Lee. 2 aces. Mm-hmm. 2.
Well, at least you didn't give $765 million.
That is true. That is true. Moving on to the Geeks Section.
Geeks Section, my favorite.
Gonna do some games, gonna do some casting news, gonna kick things off with it's a big game for weeks. Big week for games.
Game for weeks.
Man, that's I had a Willy Wonka there. Strike that, reverse it. Big week for games.
Hey, you got it. You did it right that time.
Marvel Rivals released over the weekend. By the way, I will talk about Indiana Jones. I'm going to talk about the new Power Rangers game. They just came out, so I haven't had a chance to replay them.
Looks good.
Stay tuned for that. Yeah, Indiana Jones might be game of the year.
Oh, by the way, really good. Yeah.
It's not up though for Game of the Year award because the Game of the Year awards are doing them in December instead of January because the Game Awards are.
We used to be a proper country.
Yeah, well, the gaming industry is a joke. By the way, another 100 layoffs, by the way, today over at People Can Fly. So more people out for work as we're now up to almost 40,000 people have lost their jobs over the last 3 years. But yeah, the game industry, yay! I do want to celebrate Marvel Rivals. This game looks like an Overwatch killer. It looks phenomenal. It is basically Overwatch, but with Marvel characters, but better. It has destructible environments. It has this thing called team ups. So like natural characters who naturally could work well together right? So like the Hulk and Iron Man and Doctor Strange have this thing where Hulk can like use his gamma radiation to increase their effectiveness and their power. So like Tony Stark's repulsor beam has a gamma effect to it. The Hulk can also do a fastball special with Wolverine, at least until hopefully they put Colossus in the game, because obviously that's what they can do. Scarlet Witch and Magneto. Scarlet Witch can use her chaos magic to energize Magneto's metal sword. Like there's Rocket Raccoon can ride on top of Groot's shoulders and gets a shield basically. It's a damage debuff. Damage does less to him while he's riding on Groot. Like there's some really freaking cool elements here. Thor and Captain America. Thor can energize Captain America's shield with lightning. Oh, and he can also power up Storm and her lightning. There's some really cool synergies here, stuff that's way deeper. It's a fun mechanic that Overwatch never did and never had and never built on. And when you don't innovate, eventually somebody's going to come along and knock you off your perch. And right now, Lee, Marvel Rivals, who had 10 million downloads over the weekend, looks like they're going to... Oh, and by the way, had 450,000 people playing concurrently on Steam compared to Overwatch's 20,000. It looks like Marvel Rivals is finally like, what up, biatch? We here, and we are number one. Game looks great. I'm giving it right now.
Right. Never do that again.
I'll never do it again. I'm so sorry. I apologize to everybody out there.
That was so dated too.
Well, you know what I was gonna say? I was gonna say something else, and I didn't want to swear, and then it turned into that. So.
What up, biatch? I don't think I've heard someone say biatch in 20 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say other stuff, and then I had to pivot. When I'm forced to pivot in my brain at the last second, it goes old school.
You would have been better off. Been like, this game is all there is. It is skibbity beyond belief.
Skibbity toilet, toilet everywhere.
I can't wait for the day that becomes old and there's new language.
God. I want that to be old, but I am scared of what will come next.
Yeah. Wizard. That's so wizard.
We're going to come. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. But no, the game's great. Congratulations to Netties. They did a phenomenal job with this. I should also mention, I did do a mock review for this game. But I mean, that doesn't mean anything. Like, I'm not getting anything after the fact like I did before. I looked at the game before it released. Basically, for those who know what a mock review is, and basically said, this is where you're doing good. This is where you're doing bad. You might want to fix it. And I think they, I like it when people listen to me because, boy, the game's a lot of fun. So it's a lot of fun, the final product. And I think people are going to really, really enjoy it. And yeah, I'm digging it, man. I can't sing its praises enough. I spent the whole weekend playing it. I put in hundreds of matches. It feels like when Overwatch first released. It's all the best parts of Overwatch when it first released, plus new stuff. None of the mistakes. Lee, you should play the game. It's on Xbox.
I think I'm going to try it based on but I'm going to be honest with you, Ray, with Indiana Jones, I think that's where I'm going next.
Oh, that's fair. You should play Indiana Jones first. Absolutely. I'm hearing phenomenal things about that, and I'm still mad that it's not going to get any Game of the Year love because it came out in December, and we're going to do our show in December. I can't stand. I'm sorry. The Game Awards is a joke. It really is, and we talk about it every year. And that's why I'm doing comedy Thursday night again at the Ice House in Pasadena instead of watching that show. I'm not even going to watch it. So, if there any news comes out of it, I'll look at it afterwards. I'll read it. I'll read about it. I'm not gonna watch it live. And I think you all shouldn't either, but that's me. You do what you want.
No, I don't disagree. It's a cash grab.
Yeah, 100%. It's a cash grab for a couple of very greedy individuals, and that's about it. And I think the industry falls into the trap every year. I don't know. I don't get it, but because especially at this point, y'all realize that most of yous, if EA was like, here's a new video game, people will see it. That you just release it online. You don't have to do it at the Game Awards.
Right.
So, but anyway, I don't know. Old habits die hard, I suppose. And G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra came out on consoles this week. It came out in Steam earlier in the year, and it came out on consoles this week. It came out in September, and now November with a console version. I love side-scrolling beat-em-ups, Lee. This is not a very good side-scrolling beat-em-up.
It's the IP.
Yeah, exactly. They cut a lot of corners. It does look like they cared about the IP, but it looks like they just didn't have the money to do the polish that would be necessary to get this up to a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, or the good things that I'm hearing about the yeah, absolutely. I'm hearing good things about the Power Rangers Rita Rewind that dropped literally just before we started the show. I've already heard good things about that, so I feel bad that G.I. Joe did not latch on with a better developer for a side-scrolling beat 'em up. That game's probably Marvel Rivals right now could go up, but I would say right now 8 out of 10. Wrath of Cobra 5 out of 10. So, and now I would say this: it'd be better. Wrath of Cobra would be better if it was cheaper. definitely not worth $25 for Wrath of Cobra. And Marvel Rivals, free to play. Free. Perfect price. Free. Go play that. So go play Marvel Rivals. Don't play Wrath of Cobra. So
Fair enough.
Yeah. Video games. And I'm going to go play
Jones.
I'm going to go play Indiana Jones.
I'm going to tell you why Indiana Jones is already going to win Game of the Year and why it's a magnificent game. One of the side quests is to take pictures of cats.
I've heard about this. Yes.
And that would be a game I would play naturally.
Yeah.
But not only that, you're taking pictures of cats and it's Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And the Cat Crusade.
I'm looking more forward to just punching Nazis.
I always enjoy punching Nazis.
That's what I'm saying.
Even in real life.
That never gets old. Particularly in real life. Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to Indiana Jones. I will have my full top 10, though, towards the end of the year, because it's not the end of the year yet. There's still 3 weeks left.
Well, you got time.
And I've got time. And by that time, I will have played Power Rangers and I will have played Indiana Jones. And I will have a full comprehensive list for top 10. I will say, if there is any game that could knock off Dragon Age, it would be Indiana Jones, probably.
Yeah, it may, just from a storyline alone.
Yes. So stay tuned, folks, to Geeks Who Like Sports, because who knows?
Raise ranking 2024.
Yes. The only real video game ranking that matters.
I would actually agree with that, right?
I'm the last person in the gaming industry that knows what they're talking about, I think, sometimes. Anyway, the game press is real bad now. Anyway, wrapping things up, a little bit of casting news from Disney.
Yeah, interesting casting news.
The first little bit, Jeremy Allen White, Kraven the Hunter, the Bear, one of the Von Erich brothers, a variety of roles, very good actor, playing the voice of Jabba the Hutt's son in the Mandalorian movie, reportedly.
Ne Jabba no Bada.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got the tenor for it, but do you really need a big name like that to do Hutties?
Well, after Vin Diesel is Groot, yes. That's why. Guy is making millions saying 5 words now.
Right. Yeah. I am Groot.
We are Groot.
Yeah. So
I think you said one more thing aside from that.
I forget. Yeah.
I
Love
think you said something in
family
Guardians 3.
Yeah. I can't remember. Probably about family or something.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, with Vin Diesel. Or family.
Family.
Anyway. So I guess good on him. That's gonna be a big payday.
Well,
and it's exciting to know that Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, they teased this. They teased this in the Mandalorian season 3, or I'm sorry, Book of Boba Fett.
Right.
And it's good. It's good to see. I think that's a great storyline to bring back. I think the Mandalorian and Grogu really could bring back the prominence of Star Wars in film, in cinema.
Yes.
The TV Star Wars has done fine. I mean, we can look, if the Acolyte's the worst thing you've done, not that bad. Not the worst thing in the world. Right. It wasn't great, but not that bad. I told you Skeleton Crew, new episode out today. Looking forward to that. Mandalorian was fantastic. Book of Boba Fett. If you didn't like Book of Boba Fett, I really don't know what to tell you. It was fun. Yeah. So looking forward to seeing where this is going. Also, Andor season 2, Andor season 1. It's time to get back into cinema, right? And I'm looking forward to seeing where they go.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, movies. We want the movies.
But in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, a lot going on possibly in Marvel. There's a rumor that after Robert Downey Jr. returning to play Doctor Doom, that somehow, some way, somehow Chris Evans returned. Chris Evans might be coming back, whether it's to play Cap or whether it's something else, much like Robert Downey. I don't know. We don't know.
Nobody knows.
I hope it's just to play Cap. Right. And then
him. Yeah, I think we all hope that. I mean, look, there is if they do like an anti-Avengers thing in another universe where Iron Man becomes Doom and Captain America becomes something else. I hope they don't do that. Ray, we talked about this the other day. What I would love to see is them explore that Cap through time storyline, which everyone kind of wants to see. You could totally weave that into this and kind of tie a nice bow around it. That he did all these things before he retired. Again, he's really old at the end of Endgame. I mean, there's plenty of time there that he could have done stuff or shown up. So we will see. We will see. No one knows what Marvel's doing, which is usually the best thing that can happen.
Not even Marvel knows what they're doing.
Right. The big hump they have to get over is ending Kang, and we got to see how they're going to do that. I'm actually curious to see if they do that in What If season 3.
I was just about to say the exact same thing. I'm looking forward to What If season 3 in the next 2 weeks. 2 weeks away.
It's real. They went real quick. So obviously they planned that with season 2.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that too. Like that's the first Marvel show we've had since WandaVision, since Agatha all along.
Which we know
we'll see.
We thought was phenomenal.
Yeah. I'm going to say it. And, I said on the show a few weeks ago, I'm actually going to say this pretty definitively now because Wicked had not debuted yet. I think Catherine Hahn is the greatest witch ever. I think she's the greatest witch in the history of TV and film. A lot of people disagree with me on that. There have been a lot of great witches, don't get me wrong. But in terms of just the classic what a witch is in film and cinema, while also kind of mixing in some Wiccan elements, right? Wiccan as in the religion, not as in the character.
Right.
Pretty well done. I mean, she's got it. She's got it down.
Yeah. No, we love ourselves some Catherine Hahn. Absolutely. 100%. And loved Agatha. We thought it was a great show.
Yeah.
And I hope it gets a lot of awards. I hope it gets a lot of awards.
My pick for the second best witch is going to surprise some people. I got to tell you that right now. And it comes from 1990, a movie called The Witches. Okay. And a producer's looking at me right now because he knows I'm going to talk about Angelica Houston here because that was the first witch that ever scared me in the original film, The Witches. And that's a different take on a witch. Right. So Catherine Hahn, I think, is the best witch of all time, encompassing everything it is to be a witch. If you ever saw the movie The Witches, I think Anne Hathaway did a like a 2020 film with this that bombed.
Right.
But Angelica Houston, in that film, I watched it as a kid. It was like, wow, that's like the evil witch, right? Catherine Hahn's not so much an evil witch. I mean, she is, but she's a covenantless witch. Whereas
it was the last thing that Jim Henson made before he died.
Yeah, he turned children into mice.
I remember this now. Yeah.
Yes, you do. You'll remember two things about this movie, Ray. Watch this. Watch me. For everybody listening, I'm about to open up Ray's time capsule here. You'll remember her because she turns into this long-nosed witch.
Right.
Right? You remember that she takes her mask off? But I think what I'm about to unlock, because Ray, you're a lot like me, is that the boy in the film has pet mice, and he builds these elaborate mazes for the mice.
Right.
And when he turns into a mouse, he gets to go through them. And I remember as a kid thinking, that's the coolest thing in the world. I want to make that and run through that. You remember, is this kind of opening up your memory banks a little bit?
Yes.
And then he had a wonderful aunt. It was just a nice little film. The Witches, Angelica Houston. Check that out.
Yeah, it also makes me think of the episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark when the kid gets transported into the video game. Which I was
or you could just go to Nick Arcade and really be transported into a green screen video game.
I was going to
really
say that had to have been
time.
They all sucked, but I also have to say it had to have been hard because you're looking at a monitor and trying to place yourself.
Ray,
and
I'm just going to tell you
easier on TV.
Nothing frustrated young athlete Lee more than Nick Arcade and Guts. It's like, guys, get up the aggro crag and get the piece of rock. This is ridiculous.
And Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Sure, too. As an athlete. I also understand not everyone's an athlete, but me watching that, like, you can't do that? You can't get across that thing?
I know there's
very judgy, very immature.
Yes, I know that there's a video going around right now of Kurt Fogg yelling at somebody about still struggling after all these years to put the statuette from Legend of the together. Because I don't understand how you don't realize this is the base, this is the middle, and this is the head.
It's such a simple solution. And then while we're at it, let's just throw in Double Dare too. I mean, there were some things in there. It's like some of them were against you a little bit. Some of those obstacles were against you a little bit.
I feel like the nose picker was always like, unless it was right there, that was always going to be a hard one.
You never knew, right?
But some of them were so easy.
I always give Double Dare a little bit. Okay, there were some real obstacles there on the physical challenges. But Guts and Nick Arcade and Legends of the Hidden Temple. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
Used to get so mad, like every one of us. I'm like, you can't do that. Again, very young, very judgy. Also wasn't there. Maybe I couldn't
Sure.
do it either, but I never got a chance, so I'll never know.
We'll never know.
Never know. Nick Arcade though, Ray. I would have eaten that up.
Oh, absolutely. At least getting to the final boss. Again, I think it could have been harder than people realize to look at yourself on a blue screen.
Well, you had to watch yourself while you were doing it.
Right. And there's kind of a disconnect, right?
Yeah.
But
it's
getting
also
there
new at the time.
answering questions and playing arcade games at the high scores. Like I would see their high scores, and I'm like,
oh my god, you and me both, man. I mean, it's like they what they do is they people would go to the Nickelodeon studios, they pick them off the street. Yeah, it's the same thing. Like when we I hate to admit this, but when we were I won't say what team. I worked in professional hockey, and they always told us when they're doing like the center ice shot, like look for someone who's never played. Yeah, and it's like I wouldn't always do that. Sometimes if I found a kid, I'm like, yeah, you should do this.
Yeah.
But anyway, secrets of entertainment.
Yes. Yeah.
No one ever paid me $800 million though.
No.
And no one ever will.
No. I just want if somebody gave me
$1 million.
$4 million. No, I've done the math. I could live. I'm 40. I'm going to be 40 very soon. Somebody gave me like $4 million.
$4 million. Sure.
I could live like a king for the rest of my days.
That's 0.5% of his contract.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's think about that. That's not even 1% of Juan Soto's contract.
1% of his contract. That's insane. That's insane. Teachers don't make that in a lifetime.
But that's what I'm saying. Like most of us won't make $1 million in our lives.
Ray, I will make you $4 million. We will make $4 million.
Maybe.
Savi, you in? Producer Savi, you in?
Let's go, producer Savi.
He's thumbs up from the producer. We're gonna do it on and this is what we're gonna do. We got to market it quickly. We are looking to make 0.5% of Juan Soto's contract.
Yeah,
it's
Juan
not
Soto,
that much,
they broke
guys.
It down.
It's not
Juan
that much.
Soto will make $1 million a week on this contract.
Wow.
In a month. I could have to work for a month in this contract and I can retire the rest of my life. Oh, on that note, that makes me sick. That sickening note. That's the end of the episode.
That's it. What a way to end. What a way to end. Yay, sports.
Oh, yeah. Savi went, hey, goodbye, everybody. Savi's just like, I'm done, too. We're done. That's the outro.